Located in the heart of Washington is the most powerful court of justice in the United States. In fact, as law professor Jeffrey Rosen at the George Washington University points out, it is unique among the constitutional courts of the world.
It has great power, and the most important power is the ability to strike down laws passed by Congress and the state legislatures that the justices feel violate the U.S. Constitution.
This year, for the first time in the history of the United States, 3 of the 9 justices on the Supreme Court are women. In the past 5 years, there have been 4 new justices appointed to the court. Professor Rosen says that may affect the personal dynamics on the court, but probably not its recent trend toward becoming more conservative. What's new, he says, is that the court may now be perceived as being partisan.
This is the first time that all of the 4 liberals are Democratic appointees and all the 5 conservatives are Republican appointees. So there is a danger that the court will be perceived as political. I think the justices themselves would reject that claim. They would feel that despite their clear ideological and philosophical differences, no one would ever cast a vote purely for political reasons.
The court is supposed to be insulated from partisanship. The Constitution gives Supreme Court justices lifetime appointments so they can make decisions without political pressure. But the Supreme Court has still at times been accused of playing politics. In 2000, there was no clear winner in the presidential election between Al Gore and George W. Bush. In a 5-4 vote, the court sided with Bush, a decision that put him in the White House.
After the Bush v. Gore decision, public confidence of the court among Democrats plummeted to something like 30 or 40%, but it soared among Republicans to 70 or 80%. Nevertheless, a year later, the numbers were pretty well equal as they were before the decision.
The Supreme Court is constantly tested by high-profile cases. Many of the most contentious involve the free speech provisions of the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment. One such case this year questions whether members of a church have a right to protest with offensive signs at a U.S. Marine's funeral. Charles Haynes heads the Religious Freedom Education Project at the museum.
If we allow the government to decide what is offensive speech and what isn't offensive speech, then I think it limits the rights of all of us to express what we believe.
Legal experts also expect cases involving such social issues as healthcare reform and same-sex marriage to end up in the Supreme Court. Jeffrey Rosen says the judges' ideological beliefs are most likely the dominant factor when they consider a case, but he says the court still occupies a position of public confidence and legitimacy.
Although its decisions are often hotly debated and people criticize them intensely, there still is a feeling that the court ultimately is deciding things based on philosophy rather than pure partisanship, and that its decisions have to be obeyed even when you disagree with them.
Rosen says one reason the court is respected by Americans, even when they disagree with its decisions, is that when justices rule on an issue, they also have to explain why. In Washington, Elizabeth Lee, VOA News.